Hi, babies. So even though we have a frequently asked questions section on our website, we thought it might be a good idea to do some videos. Might be kind of fun to do some videos that incorporate those frequently asked questions. So this is the very first one of, we're probably going to call it Ask Mommy, but I'm sure other people have done that, but we're going to do it too. We're also probably going to incorporate something called an Ask Littles. So you're going to see below this video a link that if you have any questions, you can go to this website and fill out this form of, stuff that you can ask us, or you can ask other littles questions that you have, like stuff that either you're too embarrassed to talk about or just things that you're curious about. And we will pick some of them, like the most asked questions or the ones that we think are kind of interesting, and we'll do a little segment on them. These are going to be really short. But I think that they're pretty important because a lot of people have the same questions. So here we go. This first question is more of a general feeling. It's a lot of questions roll into one, and it deals with a lot of the shame that people have for being in the ABDL community. So the question is, is what I'm doing okay? Is there something wrong with me? I feel like I'm wired differently than everybody else, and why? And this question, or these series of questions, always really they break my heart, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with what people do in the ABDL community, or with people in the ABDL community. We're all consenting adults, and contrary to popular belief, and I think this is where a lot of the shame comes in, a lot of people equate the ABDL community with like pedophilia, and it's completely different. Completely different. So pedophiles are people who are sexually attracted, or who want to be with people who are younger or kids. People in the ABDL community, well, adult babies and adult littles, don't want to be with kids. They want to be them. So I think what's kind of interesting about this fallacy that people have is that the ABDL community is actually very kind of hypervigilant about not including people under the age of 18 in a lot of the conversations that we have. And that's because a lot of the people in the community, or that we've found, come from trauma, come from traumatic backgrounds, come from abuse. So they're kind of overprotective of children. And that's another thing that I wanted to point out, is the people with whom we deal with at Little Baby Boo Nursery are people who suffer from PTSD. They're military. They're people who come from trauma, childhood trauma, people who have issues that have developed because they were born a little early, and the trauma that surrounds that, or people who have been incontinent, stuff like, there's like a whole gamut of people come to visit. I should also point out too that Little Baby Boo Nursery focuses on the non-sexual aspects of the ABDL community, the more therapeutic aspects of like role play, age play, people getting to that little sweet side, or not always sweet, but that little side. So we really don't focus on the sexual aspects of that. And again, there is absolutely nothing wrong with the sexual aspects of the ABDL community, because we are all adults. We are all consenting adults. And that is super important. Like I said before, we're all kind of hypervigilant about separating what we do as adults with children. Because there are a lot of people in the community who have kids, and they want to keep that separate. They want to kind of relive their childhood in a safe environment that was very different from their home life. So that's kind of what we do, and it's absolutely okay. It's actually awesome. Question 2 is actually more of a concern also. It is about adult men who, when they do role playing, want to be little girls, or they want to be sissies, like have that femininity, play with that femininity. And if I've talked to a lot of people who have that kind of innate desire to do that, to get into that little space, and they then feel so much guilt, wrapped around that, and they don't understand why. A lot of these people are cis males who are very, very masculine in their everyday life, who have kids, grandkids, who are, bearded, or who are like super large guys. And so they don't understand this yearning to be a little girl. And for me, it really makes sense, because even children, even young boys, there's still this expectation for boys to be strong and like powerful, and like little boys are play with what is it, snails and puppy dog tails and stuff like that, whereas little girls are like very sweet and cute. So like there's nothing cuter or sweeter than a little baby girl. So I think that when you have an adult male who's very burly, or who has been through a lot, who is like a police officer or in the military, and they have to be this kind of gruff person, there is no better way to relax. I mean, there's nothing more opposite than being this sweet, cared for, little sweet and innocent girl. And it has nothing to do with sexuality. And I think that's where a lot of people get confused, is they think, oh my God, am I gay or whatever, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with. But they kind of feel like, oh, geez, it has nothing to do with sexuality at all. It is more this feeling of like, of just wanting to be innocent. The third kind of question or comment or whatever is, why am I like this? And that's kind of something that we've been learning as we go along at Little Baby Boo Nursery. And too, there are differences with age regression, as far as like a non-sexual age regression versus like a kink play. And there are differences in that. As far as the kink aspect goes, whether it's mainstream, where people are interested in like breasts versus whatever, we all have something, and there's nothing to be ashamed of if you are interested in wearing diapers and a pacifier or whatever, and that's something that you find attractive or sexually stimulating, because you really can look at things such as breasts. A lot of people are interested in breasts, but if you look at it as, oh my God, that's something that you breastfeed children with, what kind of pervert are you? That's a way for you to give your child nutrition. We don't look at it that way. We just, we say, okay, that's something that a lot of people have a kink for, and we don't demonize that. But for some reason, we demonize when someone wants to dress as a baby. And for some reason, I don't know why. I think because, again, going back to the whole pedophilia thing, people have this fear like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. But no, it has nothing to do with that. It's important that I think everybody know that the people with whom we've had contact with through our sessions, through our littles parties, and through virtual sessions, through the cons, people that we've met, they run the gamut of like all types of professionals, sexualities, everything. There is no one type of person that is little or that is interested in age play. So it doesn't have to do with anything like that. Kink stuff, it has more to do with like power and like and control, and there's all kinds of fun aspects of that, which we can get into in a later frequently asked questions. There are so many questions that we get asked. So this is going to be really fun, and it's going to, again, run all over the place, because while we are a non-sexual nursery, we also have a lot of experience with like the kink aspects. And because, again, we're all adults and we know a lot of people. So we will be answering questions from our perspective. And I think that we'll also probably be interviewing people in the ABDL community so that we can get not just our 2 cents about things, but get other people's too, because we really want to have a broad source of resources for everyone so that it's not just coming from us. We don't know everything, but hopefully if we can get a conversation started, we can learn more about each of us and get this a little bit more out to the open and not so stigmatized. But that's one of our goals. So yeah, if you have any questions that you think that we should touch upon or we should answer, go ahead and follow the link below and ask away. Also be sure that you like this video and subscribe to our channel, because we're going to be bringing you a lot more content in the coming months and years ahead. So I hope you guys have an awesome day. Be proud of who you are. Love yourself, because you're freaking awesome. And we love you. So have a great day, and we'll see you soon.